all. Welcome to our budget hearing for November 25th, Economic Development and Planning. Director Schimmer.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for inviting Economic Development and Planning to make a budget presentation to you and the residents of Franklin County. I'm joined this afternoon by Assistant Director Jenny Snapp, Assistant Director Alex Beres, and Finance Administrator Ryan Schneider. The title of our presentation this afternoon is Sparking Collaborative Development. For our audience, I want to point out the fact that Economic Development and Planning's mission is to be the best county, community planning, and economic development organization in the state of Ohio through the use of innovative public policy and programs which make significant and lasting contributions to enhance the quality of life of our residents. Commissioners, being academically trained as a geographer, I couldn't help myself today if I didn't have a map in the presentation, so we have one map up here. But I thought it was really important for the public to understand what jurisdictional areas we serve. Starting with the white, these are areas of unincorporated Franklin County where we administer zoning for 10 out of the 17 townships. The powder blue areas are where the county can use its HUD and Housing and Urban Development funds in relationship to the townships. And the dark blue are the incorporated areas, such as the city of Columbus and 15 cities and 10 villages that make up the rest of the county. The importance here, Commissioner, is to understand that even though those are standalone communities like the city of Columbus, we work closely with each one of those. I'd like Alex to take you through our most important work done in 2019, which is our Economic Development Strategic Plan.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Alex Beres. I'm the Assistant Director overseeing our economic development efforts as well as our new housing strategy. I'd be remiss to say that with a last name that starts with B and being at a table with a Schimmer, a Schneider, and a Snapp, that I think there was a mistake made with the classroom seating chart today. But let me go through here. The strategic plan was really important, and in coordination with the development of the Rise Together blueprint, the department underwent a strategic planning process to provide a roadmap for the next 5 years of our economic development work. The strategy reforms and enhances our traditional business attraction and retention efforts while continuing to push forward on resident-centric approach to development. This sees the department working even more hand-in-hand with our municipal and township officials, but more importantly, directly with our residents to prepare the county for the growth we have coming ahead in an inclusive manner. I'll highlight several of the strategic priorities from that plan. The first, as you are well aware of, is our affordable housing framework. The implementation has 3 core considerations. The first is to preserve that existing $17 million in housing funds that we currently administer, to expand our tax incentives and zoning code updates to accommodate more affordable housing. And then third is to provide new funds for several new county affordable housing initiatives. This all gets wrapped into the department's new Affordable and Emergency Housing Fund, which is an expansion by approximately $15.5 million in the department's budget that's related and folds into all of the affordable emergency housing programs that the county provides. This includes a $500,000 increase into Community Shelter Board, as well as that new funding of the third priority, which is the additional $6.8 million from the conveyance fee that will be going towards initially 2 main programs: the county's Magnet Fund to leverage new construction out of the low-income housing tax credit program, as well as partnering with the Community Land Trust. Another strategic priority was the reconfiguration of the county SmartWorks suite of programs. This includes reallocating PeopleWorks resources where we've consolidated our contracts. Jim, if you could give me the next slide, please. To 3 main, we've consolidated to 3 main funding programs for existing contracts, and that's with Perscalis, Fortuity, and Engineered Profiles. That performance-based training to job program is averaging at just about $1,200 per placement. We're also transitioning transitioning out of the Energy Works program after the end of the year, but also expanding our infrastructure bank program called Energy Works. This program has to date 8 loans to 7 different municipalities and has really come in handy for a number of municipalities, and I'll let Jim talk about a key project that came out of that.
Commissioners, one of the 2019 projects I want to highlight is this Hilliard Municipal Fiber Project. One thing that I think you know and can be proud of is that one specific project is really making a difference with our municipal partners, and that really is the idea of utilizing the infrastructure bank, our government-to-government lending program. So Josh Roth and Alex were able to put together and work with Hilliard to make a $1.2 million loan to help construct 25 miles worth of new fiber. That fiber is really important to Hilliard in a number of different ways. Primarily, it connects city assets with upgrading new and existing industrial site capabilities. And I'm really happy to report that our infrastructure program has been the catalyst of over 135 miles of new fiber throughout the county. And remember, these are loans, so when they get paid back, that money comes back in to be relent into future projects. And the concept of revolving is something that I think is really important to our taxpayers. This money is being reused into the future. Commissioners, probably the fastest way to eliminate poverty and to stabilize families is with a job. At our core is the work that we do with the creation of jobs, which pay solid living wages. I'm happy to report that our tax incentive program has generated over 721 jobs and an actual new payroll of over $21 million with companies who have active incentive projects here in Franklin County. In a moment here, just about the word transparency. You have made it clear to us, your staff, that we need to provide public transparency in our programs. Therefore, we've built a system where our programs are reviewed by Franklin County residents for Franklin County residents. So we're very pleased that the work that we've done with our public programs has citizen involvement. One of the things that's very important in our strategic plan was a new dedication and a new focus to the idea that we will have citizen involvement in whatever we do and wherever it occurs. As I mentioned earlier, the theme of the presentation today is sparking collaborative development. We do that by leveraging the work of experts in a variety of different fields. This slide just represents a few of our trusted partners who help us leverage county dollars with dollars that they raise themselves. That collaboration has been an incredibly important tool which has made a great impact on the quality of life of all of our residents. And that term quality of life is far broader in our agency, and to illustrate that, I want to turn the program over to Jenny Snapp, who'll take you through some of our community development work.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Administration, and Office of Management and Budget staff. As you know, and for purposes and members of the public, my name is Jenny Snapp, and I'm the Assistant Director at Economic Development and Planning, and I'm honored and excited to be part and parcel to presenting EDP's 2020 budget. It's through a year-long process of innovative, strategic, and cross-organizational planning, something that those of us sitting here are very passionate about, that we have arrived here today. As the Manager of Community Development, Planning, Building, Zoning, GIS, and Operations of EDP, I'm here today to give you an overview of all of these divisions at our agency. As you are aware, Franklin County is an entitlement jurisdiction that receives direct funding from the United States Office of Housing and Urban Development to support both community development and affordable housing programs here at Franklin County. These programs are pieces to the puzzle in both the Rise Together Poverty Blueprint, but also the Affordable Housing Fund that EDP will be embarking on in the coming year. The block grant programs include 3 parts: CDBG Community Development Block Grants, Home Investment Partnership Programs, and the ESG Emergency Solutions Grant. As you can see from the charts in the slides here, Franklin County has seen steady increase in all 3 of these programs in the last 6 years and a stabilization in these funds in the last 2 years. The Board of Commissioners outlines its priority uses of these funds in its approved 5-year consolidated plan, which will be next completed in 2020 for the years 2020 through 2024. The total program funding for federal year 2019 was approximately $2.8 million. That's funding for 21 programs across 7 program areas that you see here: housing stabilization, economic development, public and social services, community development block grant administration, home administration, county rental and rehabilitation and new construction, and emergency solutions grant.
Commissioners, when we look at the 2019 community development accomplishments, I wanted to highlight 3 things. The first of which is, and something we've said over and over again, but I'm particularly proud of, is the fact that we leverage federal dollars in a way that no one else in the country does. The county's home program currently ranks number 1 in the nation in terms of leveraging its annual allocation. For every dollar of home allocation we generate, $23.55 in additional funding. That's in comparison to the state average of $1 leveraging $8.76, or the national average of $1 leveraging $5.93. So what does that really mean? It means that the county received nearly $600,000 in federal home dollars, but it leveraged $14.1 million in projects. Through its involvement in the Continuum of Care Board, the department is assisted in securing $10.2 million in homeless prevention work. And finally, the third important point is our work with partners regarding youth homelessness has yielded another $3 million in grant funding for youth initiatives. So again, we are leveraging federal dollars in a very meaningful way. Commissioners, there has been a lot of public discussion about the need for affordable housing. But I want to let you, well, not necessarily you, I think you have lived this for a number of years, but the public should know that the Franklin County Commissioners have been engaged in establishing affordable housing for a number of years. And I'd like to quickly point out 2 community housing network projects that were actually done in 2019. Marshbrook Place is an $8.7 million project located on the Far East Side. It is a 40-unit permanent supportive housing project for the transition of youth and their family. Parsons Place, which is located in the slide on the bottom right-hand corner, is a 62-unit permanent supportive housing project for homeless individuals in Columbus. And I'm proud to point out that the county's sustainability measures are reflected in both projects. First, by using universal design standards. Secondly, by using the Energy Star building standards for the building envelope and the building construction itself. As we know from the 2018 County Energy Study, many low and moderate income residents and households spend a disproportionate amount of their household income on energy-related cost. Tackling this one issue means that more of these units are going to be affordable for years to come.
Commissioners and administration, the functions of our planning, zoning, and building staff are often seen as regulators, but I can assure you the EDP staff are engaging the public on a daily basis and improving the quality of life for all of our residents. Planning and zoning staff are facilitating community conversations to administer land regulations that ensure the health, safety, and welfare of all of our communities. Our planning process can often be divided into 2 different categories: short and long-range planning. The long-range planning processes at EDP look at land use and the environment, housing, energy, transportation, and food systems, just to name a few. We engage with residents to produce a desired vision for their communities. Our short-range planning processes include over 20 permitting, review, and enforcement processes, and administration of 5 of your commissioner public meetings and boards. You will see from this graph alone the steady increase in these types of activities.
Commissioners, go ahead, sorry, Jenny.
Our certified building department ensures compliance with the Residential Building Code of Ohio for 1, 2, and 3 family residential units in all unincorporated townships and 6 contracted villages, and includes all of the services you see listed here, but most importantly, ensuring the safety of residents in all of Franklin County.
Hey, was that a real wall?
Was that a real?
Yes, that is our, yes,
That is
indeed,
real.
that is our,
I haven't been there. No, it's excellent. Absolutely, it is. And I think that's a value system that we have
It
as
is.
commissioners. And I can just say I'm appreciative that you're taking it so seriously and putting it up that way. So
Yeah, that is our building counter. When people come into our office to apply for building and zoning permits, that is what they see.
I appreciate that. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
and we're very proud of it, so. Commissioners, you'll see in the next two slides the key indicators of growth these divisions have seen in the last several years post-recession, especially in the number of building inspections, subdivision lots created, new homes built, building permits, cost of construction, and permit receipts going back to the general fund. These are all indicators of the need to hire a full-time residential building official as requested in the 2020 budget, which I will talk about soon. Last and not least, our GIS, Geographic Information Systems Division, has made huge strides in our online permitting and payment program. It has seen a 227% increase in its use of building permit submittal and payment since its inception in 2015, ultimately making our permit operations more customer-friendly, so the resident and customer doesn't have to take time to take off work, drive downtown, find parking to apply for building permits. Commissioners, I can attest to all of these accomplishments as I have outlined as being customer-centric or every resident, every day.
That's really great. I like to see that our residents don't all have to drive down here. Parking is not always as convenient, and to do it online makes a lot of sense. Thank you for getting that done.
We're going to talk a little bit more about how we're going to upgrade that this year too. We continue to move on that particular area. But speaking of moving, one of the interesting things that happened in 2019 was our continued involvement with international economic development. In Central Ohio and around the globe, I'm happy to report that we are not only representing our county in international economic development, but also our residents and companies. In September of this year, Commissioner O'Grady and County Administrator Ken Wilson attended the 51st Midwest U.S.-Japan Conference in Tokyo. We were part of a 25-member delegation that was involved with Central Ohio. And during our visit, we traveled to Osaka for visits with Japanese companies doing business here in Franklin County, and companies that are looking to do business in Franklin County. They included specifically Panasonic, Tiger Poly, Toso, Cure, TS Tech, and ANA Airlines. The results, one expansion project so far with 40 jobs that has a $10.7 million investment at Tiger Poly in Grove City, and one future expansion that will occur in 2020. Additionally, we had the opportunity to expose ANA Airlines to the viability of a direct flight from Japan to Columbus in the future. We will continue our work in economic development on an international basis through the upcoming year. We're happy that our partners both at One Columbus and other groups in the community, specifically our involvement with Columbus Sister Cities, Greater Columbus Sister Cities, excuse me, Commissioner. Sorry about that. I know how hard you fought for that, and I appreciate that. But we really look to them this year in a couple of different ways, first of which is the straight economic development work that One Columbus does, but also additionally work that we're going to have associated with international economic development on a different basis, on an educational basis, and one-on-one basis in terms of looking at Greater Columbus Sister Cities. They've done a great work. They have a great new executive director, and we're really pleased to continue our work in that arena. Additionally, the global report will be put out this year, and we'll be hopefully supporting that as well as we kind of move forward.
Jim, I could have sent you some much better pictures than these. Some great ones of you.
The only problem was, Commissioner, they were all food. I couldn't use all of them.
Well, I could have definitely sent you some of those, but could have definitely sent you some great pictures of you and some of your great travel attire.
Are you going to say anything about this?
No,
and
no,
humiliate me
no,
in
no.
front? I have to just come
No
out.
further embarrassment. It's okay.
I was known as Pockets on the trip.
Yeah,
for-
Jim. Pockets. That was his nickname. Pockets.
We had a good time, but the reality of it is that we had a better time doing the economic development
Yes, we
work
did.
that we were there for.
It was a great trip on behalf of the residents of Franklin County.
It was very, very positive. When we look at the upcoming year in terms of 2020, there are a number of different things that we are going to strive towards. Positioning economic development and planning to be the county's experts in affordable housing. Continuation of innovative economic development associated with job creation, small and minority businesses, the development of those groups, the use of tax increment financing, TIF, incentive structuring deals. I have Westland on this list, as I always do. We will continue pushing on that. And I'm happy to mention Rickenbacker as well. We have talked long and hard about alternative energy development. I think in 2020 it will be the year that that is discovered. But I'm also thinking that there is the possibility of the creation and discussion and this is something that came out of our strategic plan, is this concept of a mobility hub located down at Rickenbacker. So we're in early discussions with CODA to consider a hub there, and what would that hub be? Envisioned as we might see it, it could very well have a workforce training center associated with it, possible child care center, and a truck maintenance facility. The idea would be to consolidate a point down there where we can do a number of different activities and help the private sector as we move forward. In the area of community development, Jenny, is this you?
Yep.
Okay,
This is me.
sorry.
In Community Development 2020 holds the following plans: increasing the supply of affordable housing in Franklin County, and this, of course, already piggybacks on some of the work that we're already doing at EDP. Improving the efficiency of the homelessness prevention system, completing the joint county and city consolidated plan for the years 2020 through 2024 to outline the commissioner's community development priorities. In building, zoning, and GIS, perhaps the biggest change is the reorganization of EDP's building department, which I consider twofold. The hiring of a full-time residential building official, given the increase in activity and the growth indicators I've already outlined earlier. This position would replace the part-time consultant position that we currently have now. The implementation of key customer service improvements, including but not limited to the expansion of inspection scheduling, the expansion of inspector office hours to respond to customer needs, and the increase in technology updates and education. Expand the online permitting already being used for building permits, which I just outlined, to also include zoning and planning applications. So again, the same sort of things I already talked about, so the public doesn't have to take off work and come downtown, would also apply for them applying for things like their annexations and their zoning permits. We would also apply that to our online permitting system. And then to continue to collaborate with major partners in building a platform for foreclosure and eviction mapping. Those partners include the Franklin County Treasurer's Office, Franklin County Auditor's Office, the Neighborhood Design Center, and the Kerwin Institute. In planning, commissioners, I'm particularly
Hey,
proud.
Ms. Snapp, before you
Yeah.
move on, I just wanted to ask, so that is in the recommended budget, the full-time residential official?
Yes, that is in this 2020 budget. That is a recommended piece.
And how much does that increase the budget by overall?
Ryan, I'll let you talk about that, but currently we pay as a consultant fee $90,000 a year, and that is part-time. So our residential building official is a consultant fee. That person is only in the office an hour a day and then goes out and does inspections for usually about 2 hours in the morning.
Well, what I was getting at was, is one enough, considering the rate that we're growing? Is that going to do it? Will you be back next year maybe to grow that? What do you think?
I think we're considering this a test year, but the residential building official is a required position through the state of Ohio. We have to have that position, and this position, as we have now, is a consultant position, and it's just part-time. We think that the full-time position will fill a great number of our needs, and also guide our other two inspectors and our building clerk to make those necessary customer service improvements and technology improvements.
Great.
Yeah, and that is one of the key things, is that we have a public face, and that public face is one that really needs to be met on a regular basis. And I'm sure many of us have, had pulled a building permit to do, some work, Commissioner O'Grady, I know you have, you expect good service and solid service. It doesn't mean that we haven't been giving it. It just means that what we need to do is reflect where we're going with technology and being able to be more effective in our efforts to be responsive to the public. Jenny used the word customer service. We want to be all about customer service in our building services area, so that is important to us.
Thank you, thank you.
Commissioners, I'm particularly proud of the robust planning work we've started to engage in this year, which includes the following exciting projects for the upcoming year. Continuance of the I-270 West Broad Street Interchange Improvement Project, which, as you know, is a true public-private partnership with multiple jurisdictions that include Franklin County, the City of Columbus, Franklin Township, Prairie Township, the Weston Vision Group, the Haydocy dealerships, and also Hollywood Casino. We've already engaged in the Urban Crest Community Plan, and we will continue to complete that project in the coming year. We've started discussions with the Leonard Park redevelopment project. That is a partnership with COSIC and the Land Bank, as well as Mifflin Township and the Neighborhood Design Center. So we'll be having some robust activity in that particular project in the coming year. In addition, we'll continue to implement the local food action plan and then start to look at some comprehensive reviews of our zoning resolution to really fit in with the affordable housing framework that we're already looking at.
That's great.
Let's see here. Can I get back to the start of the presentation?
While we're doing that, with the leverage that we're getting with our HUD and CDBG funds, what are other communities doing that doesn't give them the kind of leverage that we're getting? I mean, how are we? I know we've always been so good at leveraging those funds, and I'm thrilled that we have been so good over time. And I'd like to commend everybody who's worked on that. Mark, I know that's primarily been you, and thank you for that. It's not a secret. I mean, so, or maybe it is, and you figured it out and nobody else has, but
Commissioner, it's not a secret, but it's an expectation. And I think that is the most important part of it. Our partners understand that leverage is really important on two ways of that. So
I'm thrilled that we figured it out, and, you know, that's wonderful, and I'm glad we have. It's not to our detriment if anybody else figures it out, though, is it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the truth of the matter is that we're a little parochial and we'll fight for dollars.
Like everybody
Yeah.
is fighting for dollars.
They are, and we're going to continue to keep our game sharp and
Oh,
be
I
able
know.
to work through that.
I
Commissioner.
know that.
And I would just add, we have used our example of how well we leverage to our congressional delegation
I know that.
as a really important argument as to why these federal funding streams are so important.
It's critically important, yeah.
And if you'll recall, Commissioner O'Grady, we actually, in real time, was giving this information to Congresswoman Beatty when she was in committee. So I think the answer is right. We just set a clear expectation that that in order to compete for these limited dollars, that we have clarity on the amount that's leveraged in terms of successful projects.
It's always been critically important, and they always threaten to cut it, and they've cut it over time, and I know that. And I mean, they've been cutting the amount of money at the federal level for years. So we need to keep fighting for as much as we can get, and I understand all of that. I'm wanting to commend you. At the same time, I'm wanting to be very protective of what we're doing so that we don't lose that edge. And, you know, anything we need to do to keep that as much as we can get.
I think it's a great point, Commissioner. I would just add that, as we know, these are largely driven by formula. And so our ability to seek extra dollars is somewhat limited beyond demonstrating that we make the best use we can of these funds as an argument for Congress to fully fund them or add dollars, and that's
Right.
the approach we've taken.
Remember our conversation with HUD administrator several years ago?
Big
Yeah.
person.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't want to say the name.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
particularly, because it wasn't real helpful. He
Right, right.
he thought it would be, he said it would be, and then cut it. Yeah. But thank you.
Not an easy
for that.
answer
It's
to your
not.
question, but again, we're going to be the best we can be and continue to evolve the program and innovate wherever we can so that we're attractive when the funding is available. I have to admit something here. I'm reminded of like the Olympics when, you got all these swimmers lined up and the gun goes off, but somebody jumps into the pool before the gun goes off. I did just that in our presentation today. So Ryan, who is our fiscal person, was supposed to take you through a little bit of our budget. I want him to do that because I think it's really
Yes.
important to the public to understand how we're spending our dollars.
So good morning or afternoon. My name is Ryan Schneider. I'm the finance administrator here at Economic Development and Planning. So our 2020 recommended budget is set at $33,514,748. This is broken out into $1,450,711 in personal services, $669,947 in fringe benefits, $754,690 in materials and services, with the majority of our budget going toward grants at $30,639,400. So that's the bigger pie chart. The smaller pie chart's a breakdown of those grants because it gets broken down into three larger sections. One section is $11.5 million, which is set aside for the economic development grants, which Alex talked about. Then we have $3,530,000, which is set aside for our community development grants from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which Ginny spoke about, as well as the $15,609,400 for the new Affordable and Emergency Housing Fund. And then additionally, the budget does include one new full-time position, which would bring our full staff time to 23.5 full-time employees. And then Commissioner Boyce, to answer your question directly about the increase to the budget. So because of the new position, we are actually reducing out the cost of the contracted position from our budget. So we subtracted that $90,000 out, which covered the majority of the position request. It only increased it, I believe it was close to between $13,000 and $15,000 in total for the 1 year, to go from a part-time employee, as Ginny mentioned, of 2 to 3 hours a day to a full-time 40-hour-a-week in position.
I just want to be clear too. I actually was thinking you might need additional folks considering the growth and size of Franklin County, but okay, very helpful.
Go ahead, Jane.
Don't get too excited yet, team. Let's see how this works.
Let's see how this works. I think that's the point at hand. Can I back up to should I go backwards to get to the slide I was at or forward? All right, we're going to zoom through this. Commissioners, this is really a visual slide of where we're going to be next year. Resident-centric collaborative community planning, first of all, an urban crest is an example, the top middle slide, if you will. A new land use and affordable housing solution for Leonard Park on your right-hand side. Community building will be represented by a new gateway art piece at I-270 and Broad Street. In general, it really helps to make Franklin County an equitable environment for everyone. Finally, I've been asked to talk a little bit about how economic development is going to support the Rise Together in Franklin County plan in 2020. Happy to let you know, Commissioners, that all of the economic development staff has read the document. I think that's an important part. Secondly, we held the department-wide meeting, and they were asked specifically to think about ideas that were associated with the specific work that they do on a daily basis. And they thought hard on that, and I think they will have an impact on helping to eliminate poverty. But those ideas ranged from identifying concentric poverty tracks through the use of GIS, to get a better understanding of the geography of poverty, and to understand how it affects both unincorporated areas and townships. That, of course, is an area of focus for us. The concept of reviewing zoning regulations so as not to assist in the causes of poverty regarding land uses. Unfortunately, land use can oftentimes drive people away from housing types and has the ability to cause, especially if they're older regulations that have been in place for a long time that do not reflect the built environment. We believe there are several things we can do in that specific area. Additionally, working towards aging in place for our housing projects. Commissioner Brown, I know we've talked about universal design for a number of years. This is something that I think if we can keep seniors, for example, in their homes, we're going to reduce cost and hopefully be able to understand where folks are and what their incomes are. A concept that came up from our staff was to focus on walkability and mobility in an odd place in some ways, and that is for every township and every unincorporated area. Our tendency is to think of those areas as being remote or rural. They're not. We have a number of urban townships in Franklin County. These are areas that we really feel strongly we can make a difference in and be able to play. So this concept of being able to walk to work or to be able to get to work through mobility is a way that one of our staff felt was really important, that you could help reduce poverty. And the other thing that came up is never ever to lose sight of the fact that EDP has a dedicated role to help create jobs. This is an important part of what our work is. And it will be a base foundational point that we will continue to work on every day because, again, in some ways, the best way to alleviate poverty is through a job. And so we want to try and do that. So our pledge at EDP is truly every resident, every day. Thank you, commissioners, for allowing us to make the presentation today, and we're happy to entertain any questions you might have.
Thank you.
Madam President and
Sure.
Commissioner Grady, I really just want to thank you for making the connection to our work in poverty. I really think to the administration that really every agency that comes through should have some kind of demonstrative connection to this work. And I appreciate how thoughtful you were, because you really have some substantive items there where you can move the needle. And appreciate that investment with you and your team. It's important, and I think you all are taking it serious, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to share with Deputy Administrator Janice a copy of all of those comments and all of that work. We're here, all four of us are here, making this presentation because I really want to illustrate to you that we are an integrated team, and the work that we do is important to everyone. And I think when we did the strategic plan last year, that concept of sort of flattening out the organization to make sure that poverty, in essence, in this particular case, is everybody's business. If you're a building inspector,
Absolutely.
you still have a responsibility towards it. We've seen instances where building inspectors have identified households that younger people have lived in, younger children actually, with no adult parent. They can't just walk away from that. And in that case, they did not. I mean, they got a hold of Children Protective Services, and we were able to make sure that that worked. But I want to make sure that we establish the goal and responsibility that everybody in our agency has a role to move the needle forward in this area and to make Franklin County a better place.
Great, thank you.
I think the fact that you've taken on all of the housing program functions makes a great deal of sense in context with all that you're working on in planning and development and economic development. So I'm really pleased to hear your presentation today. And I want to thank you and this team and all of you in the audience from the team. It shows the difference since you've done the strategic plan and the affordable housing work, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Look at that,
Sorry, right.
wrapping it
I
up.
just have numbers, they're boring.
That's quick work.